Algebra 2, our practice test on 8.6. Take a look at number 5. Whenever you're adding two logs with a common base, and our common base here would be 10, you may condense those logs. You may make them 1 by multiplying their inside parts. Remember, when you're adding two logs, you multiply their insides together. This becomes log base 10 of 10x squared minus 30x. And now this is much like number 3, problem number 3, where we had a log, or actually I should say problem number 4, where we had a log equals a number. And when you have a log equals a number, we can use the definition of the log circle. 10 to the second is equal to 10x squared minus 30x. And 10 squared is actually 100. And this is where it can get a little intimidating because these numbers look rather big. I need to subtract a 100 from both sides to get every term on the right, or at least on one of the sides altogether. But as we look at this, and we know when we have a quadratic, we're ultimately going to be factoring. I think what intimidates kids is that, these are bigger numbers. But ask yourself what you could divide out. You can actually divide every term here by 10. I'll give you a hint. Look for the number in front of x squared. Very often, that's going to be a least common multiple that you can divide out. This would lead us to have 0 is equal to x squared minus 3x. 100 divided by 10 is 10. And let's just continue up here. Right now, we have to factor. And as we're factoring, of course, we can remember that the middle number tells us that we're looking for two numbers to add to this negative 3. This right tells us we need two numbers to multiply to negative 10. If you think about it, multiplying to 10, you probably want to try a 5 and a 2. Now, the 5 is the larger number, and if you're adding a 5 and a 2, and if you want to get a negative 3, you'd want that 5, the larger number, to be a negative. You want more negatives than positives to add to a negative 3 here. And that's going to do the trick. You'll have x minus 5 times x plus 2. And of course, when you get that, you set both of these equal to 0. And you can see pretty quickly what's going to happen. You'll get x equals 5. You'll get x equals negative 2. Now, the added catch is you're going to have to do a check. And I'll tell you something. The negative, you can see immediately, would get you into trouble. Whenever you plug a negative x value in and the inside of the log, that's really what you're seeing here. It's the inside of the log. When that's negative, that means that that's extraneous. That's not going to work. Now, you can very quickly check that on your calculator, and we can do that so very fast. You could say, what if I store that in negative 2 and store that in for x? And, this is base 10, so I could just say log. I don't have to use the log base button. Log base 10 is right here next to the 7. And you could say, well, let's see. I should punch this out and get a 2. You'd see you're in trouble. The calculator says, no way, you can't do that. So that is extraneous. It gets thrown out. Now, from here, what I want to point out to you is the 5 should be checked too. The 5, you can store that in for x. Hit second enter. Hit second enter again, and you will scroll backwards to what you've already typed. And when you hit enter, you'd see that you get a 2. So x does equal 5. And that's the answer that we have.